Elon Musk is promising to reveal the latest innovations at his brain implant startup Neuralink with a Halloween show and tell demonstration. I don't know if it's actually going to be a Halloween-themed event, but according to Elon's Twitter post from August 22nd, the progress report will be done on October 31st. Aside from that, details are non-existent. We don't have even the first clue what Neuralink might be showing or telling us about. But we do have some indications about why Elon might feel like now is the time to update the public on his brain-computer interface progress. And that does give us a bit to work with. Neuralink has been making headlines recently thanks to Reuters articles that claim Elon Musk is having talks with the CEO of another BCI company called Synchron. You might remember Synchron from our last Neuralink update. They are a very similar company to Neuralink, and their CEO Thomas Oxley is a very similar person to Elon Musk. There has been a lot of talk about this dynamic popping up in the last few days, and that includes some pretty bad takes on what might be going on behind the scenes. So, today we are going to unpack what the deal is between Neuralink and Synchron, why Elon Musk is trying to make deals, why the former president of Neuralink is now a Synchron investor, and we'll even get into what Neuralink is planning for this Halloween. So, let's get going. Okay, so we've got two prevailing directions that the recent news stories are trying to take right now. Either Elon Musk is trying to take over Synchron, or Synchron is taking over BCI, and Neuralink is just a big monkey-killing failure. I don't think either of which is actually the case, by the way. According to Reuters, Elon Musk reached out to Synchron's founder and CEO Thomas Oxley in recent weeks to discuss a potential investment deal. However, they could not elaborate on any of the details regarding what the two men might have discussed, other than the claim that Elon wants to make a deal of some sort. This reporting is based on 4 anonymous sources who are, quote, familiar with the matter. Representatives from both companies have refused to provide additional comments to Reuters or any other media outlet. So, we have one insinuation from 4 anonymous people who actually know nothing of any substance driving a clickbait headline on a major news network. Great start. The Nameless Quartet also reported that Elon Musk expressed frustration to Neuralink employees over their slow progress. Which is like, who doesn't get frustrated by slow progress? When was the last time you got a notification that your Amazon delivery was delayed and thought, that's perfectly fine, I don't mind that? Now, a lot of the trouble comes from Elon Musk and his whole Twitter buying fiasco. After that, he can't even make a stupid joke about buying a soccer club without international headlines blowing up about it. So, everyone jumps to the conclusion that Elon wants to buy out Synchron. Maybe because Neuralink is falling behind and Elon is frustrated that he can't put computer chips in people's brains yet, so he's just going to throw money around until he gets what he wants. But that completely misses out on so many of the nuances involved in the story of these two companies. And it would also ignore the fact that these are two fundamentally different products. A Neuralink is installed through the patient's skull, so you have to cut out a chunk of the bone, and then a robot sewing machine will thread tiny electrode wires directly into the brain tissue. The purpose of a Neuralink is to create a super high bandwidth connection between the brain and a computer, to the point where a human can actually interface with a computer directly through their brain at a significantly higher rate than possible with a keyboard and mouse. By doing this, we can create a symbiosis between artificial intelligence and human intelligence. A Synchron device makes its way into the brain thanks to a stent that runs up a large blood vessel from the neck to deploy electrodes into the cortex area. The purpose of this is to allow a signal from the brain to control basic functions on a computer, like sending text messages and browsing the web. This is done to improve the quality of life for people who suffer from paralysis. So, one process involves skull sawing and robot brain surgery. The other involves a stent through the blood vessel, which is a very common medical procedure. No surprise, the stent-based electrode procedure was approved for human trials before the skull-cutting one. That means Synchron was the first of the modern BCI startup companies to reach the human trial phase. They began implanting their stent-based electrodes, called stentrodes, into human patients in Australia in 2019, and then began their first American-based human testing in 2021. They use a catheter to insert the stentrode into the jugular vein and then run it all the way up into the motor cortex, where they deploy their electrodes into the walls of the blood vessel. The other end of the electrode is connected to a Bluetooth-enabled computer device that is inserted into the person's chest cavity. And so far, both the procedure and the stentrode have proven to be both safe and effective for their intended purpose. In December 2021, a Synchron patient with ALS was able to send a tweet using only his thoughts. Other Synchron patients have used WhatsApp Messenger to communicate and even made purchases online. By the way, if you're enjoying the content we create here on the Tesla Space and would like to support us, check out our Patreon page. We've got some exclusive perks for our Patreon supporters, and it helps us grow the team and continue producing this content. However, unfortunately, Synchron will not be creating AI-enhanced superhuman cyborgs anytime soon. The simplicity of the stentrode device is also a limitation on its full potential. The electrodes are inside the blood vessels, that is inside the brain, but the electrodes themselves are not in direct contact with the neurons of the cortex. That means there is limited bandwidth. Clearly still enough for basic tasks, but nothing near the level that Elon Musk is gunning for. Neuralink, on the other hand, needs to remove some skull and dig straight into the gray matter to ensure that their electrodes go directly into the specific neuron that they are targeting, and each Link device can deploy over 1,000 individual electrodes. They can even install 2 of them in one patient, one for each side of the brain. This is the amount of bandwidth necessary from brain to computer to go beyond what is physically possible with the human hand, to create this unconstrained symbiosis between human and machine. So, if this is still the goal that Elon Musk wants to achieve, then buying Synchron won't get him any closer to achieving that. Merging Neuralink and Synchron actually wouldn't have any benefit for either company because they are working on fundamentally different products with fundamentally different goals. Synchron doesn't need any technological help to be able to help people. They're already doing that. They've already figured it out. And Neuralink doesn't have anything to be gained from Synchron's product development because Neuralink is already a vastly more complex, over-engineered device by comparison. And this is also the reason why they haven't made as much progress towards human testing yet. More complexity equals more time. So, I have no doubt that Elon and Thomas Oxley know each other and communicate from time to time. They were both featured speakers at a TED Talk conference in Vancouver this April, so it would be weird if they weren't acquainted. And Thomas actually gave a really impactful TED Talk that I'd highly recommend. He's a former healthcare professional turned entrepreneur who is really passionate about using technology to help people. So I wouldn't blame Elon for wanting to support that by maybe even investing some money. Success at Synchron right now does not take anything away from Neuralink. In fact, the more success there is in the BCI industry at these early stages will only translate to greater opportunities in the years to come. As much as everyone in the media wants to make this into some kind of a race to dominate, it's not a race. It's a journey towards finding better ways to use technology to make human lives better. And we start by helping those who need it the most. And Elon wouldn't be the only big name in the BCI industry invested in Synchron. We learned earlier this year that Max Hodak is a backer of Synchron and has taken on an advisory position with the company. Hodak is one of the world's leading experts in BCI technology. He was a co-founder of Neuralink, who served as company president until he was fired by Elon Musk in early 2021. No hard feelings, just a differing of opinions. Apparently, Max wasn't fully on board with the human-AI integration thing. The best we can tell, Max is more into using technology to augment the human brain, and Elon is more into using the human brain to augment technology. Hodak actually went on to form his own brain tech company that he simply called Science, and he's using this startup to pursue his own ambitions, like adding new senses to the human experience. It's really trippy stuff. He's got a really cool blog where he writes in depth about all of this. So if you'd like to hear more, let us know in the comments below. So, yes, Hodak is the owner of his own BCI company and an investor and advisor to Synchron. Max also says that he still owns his Neuralink stocks and continues to support that company as well. Max told Bloomberg in an interview, "I'm sure they will also get into humans soon too. There are many different ideas worth trying in this space." So hopefully that helps to support the point we made earlier, that this is not a cutthroat race to the top. It's a collaboration between diverse people with similar goals. And in that sprint, it would be perfectly fine for Elon Musk to want to invest in Synchron without launching a hostile takeover or having any other ulterior motives. So, we've got a date of October 31st and the promise that Neuralink will have something to show us and tell us about. And I think we can say that it's pretty likely Elon timed this announcement to combat the ever-growing speculation by media who just don't know what they're talking about, but keep on writing headlines anyway. Neuralink's last product demonstration was Pager the Mind Pong Monkey. He has 2 early versions of the Link device successfully implanted in his skull, and they allow him to play video games with his mind. And for most people who have seen that and understood what they were looking at, it's a pretty amazing demonstration. But that didn't stop the neuroscience community from raining on the parade. According to experts, the Neuralink Mind Pong Monkey was actually nothing new, and that capability had already existed since the 90s. And in fairness, they're only half wrong. Controlling an Atari game is definitely not the super high bandwidth connection that Neuralink has promised. It's actually pretty low-level signal transfer that has been demonstrated in similar experiments for many years now. This is correct. But the established neuroscientists fail to mention that all of these previous demonstrations involving either a human or a monkey with BCI also involved a giant cable coming straight out the top of the individual's head. So the video game is just the sizzle, and Neuralink is selling it. But the real body of the Neuralink experiment was that their brain-implanted monkey is totally indistinguishable from any other monkey. They've achieved the capability of an invasive BCI implant without any of the inconvenience of having to plug the subject in like they're going to the Matrix. As for what Neuralink might show us next, I'd be expecting to see a demonstration of what they can achieve with increased bandwidth. They've already proven that the Link device works on a basic level. Now, they need to show us what it is really capable of. They need to justify the invasive brain surgery and complex engineering of their device. One challenge is that monkeys can't speak English, so they can't demonstrate a communication-based application like what Synchron has done. But I think there is still room to grow with the video game monkey concept. I would be genuinely impressed if Neuralink can take their monkey from controlling a 2-dimensional Pong paddle to controlling a 3-dimensional avatar in 3-dimensional virtual space. So we'd be looking at making the jump from Atari to Nintendo 64 in terms of capabilities. I think something like that would genuinely turn some heads in the neuroscience community, and would really set the stage for what Neuralink can accomplish in the future with human trials. If a device like the Synchron can allow a person to interface with the text-based Web 2 platform, then maybe the increased bandwidth of a Neuralink can allow a person to enter the virtual metaverse world of Web 3 and live a life through their avatar that they could never physically experience in the real world due to their disabilities. I think something like that would make Neuralink at least worth the risk of attempting a brand new invasive brain surgery on a human subject. What do you think, though? What does Elon Musk have in store for the next Neuralink demonstration, and when do we see the first human trials begin? Drop your theories down below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up today if you liked it. That is so important for getting our content out to more people. If you enjoy the content, then you'd probably also enjoy our weekly newsletter, so sign up with the link down below at theteslaspace.com. A huge thank you to all of our Patreon supporters who are listed on the screen now. You help us make the best content we can, and we really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.